What's up guys, welcome to this review of Season 1 of Amazon's The Boys. It's great. I really like this show. If you don't know what it's about, it's based on the comic book by Garth Ennis. Basically, in a world where superheroes exist, the superheroes aren't exactly the heroes you'd expect them to be. It's a much more grounded, fascinating, subverted view of what superheroes typically are. So, for example, without going into spoilers, the superheroes in this world, they have dark secrets, they have hidden things that they don't want to reveal. A lot of it's kind of just an act, almost. And I'm not going to say too much more about that without going into spoilers. But the boys are a group who feel somewhat wronged by the heroes in some way or another, so they're getting together, basically trying to take them down. And that's where this whole show kind of kicks off from. 8 episodes, perfect length. So many TV shows these days seem to have 10, 13 episode seasons, and it's a little too much. 8 episodes is just right. That being said, some of the episodes are a little long. They're all roughly about an hour long, like right up to the hour mark as well, it seems. There is some content here and there which isn't bad, but just a little unnecessary. They could have trimmed it down in some areas, I think. But one of the things that's really good is that it's really fascinating and interesting the way that it subverts your expectations when it comes to superheroes. This is not your typical superhero show. Yes, there are heroes going around doing heroic things, but there's a reason behind it. They're not exactly doing it because they want to. They're not exactly doing it because they are good guys, so to say. And it really explores all that. It explores things like greed, ethics, morals, corporate input. So you, for example, you see how the superheroes have like trademarks. They have action figures and dolls. They've got movies, reality TV shows, and so on. They're all trying to capitalize on the fact that they're heroes, that they've got these powers and abilities. And it's really fascinating the way that it explores it. And again, it makes it a bit more grounded and realistic because, let's face it, if superheroes really existed, you know for a fact corporations would really try and like offer them all the money in the world so that they could do whatever they wanted, and then of course get more money from it. So that's really interesting because not many superhero TV shows or films or comic books explore that side of things. And ultimately, I think it's got some strong messages and themes throughout this season which link into all that, which link into like capitalistic greed, and it links into things like the Me Too movement and so on, and I think it does a really good job of it as well. So yeah, I really liked all of that stuff going on in there, as well as the central storyline. There is a storyline, however, where the main character, Huey, is in a romantic relationship with someone. I'm not going to say who, but this storyline is the storyline I like. I liked the storyline, it wasn't bad, but it was the most predictable element of the show. It felt very rom-com-ish, the way it was going on sometimes. And again, not bad, it was good, just maybe they could have twisted it a little here and there, made it a bit more original, but yeah. But ultimately, there's tons of twists and turns, it keeps you on your toes, it's really interesting. There are some shocking moments throughout the show. The first 10 minutes of the first episode, for example, it goes right in there, sets the tone. And speaking of which, this is an adult show. There's sex, nudity, extreme violence, and gore. This is not going to be a show for everyone, and it's really like out there in terms of the type of content that it's putting out. Personally, I like that. I like how it's being so different. And I'm sure some people will know of various superhero pieces of content that are similar to this. But yeah, I personally have not seen much that's like this. There were bits of it that reminded me a little of Watchmen. But yeah, I prefer this to Watchmen. So to talk a bit about the characters are great. Both the good guys and the bad guys and everyone in between, they're all likable and relatable. Even when they're doing horrific, horrible things, you kind of get why they're doing it. Now, that being said, there's a guy in this show who, the very first scene that we see him in, he does something so horrific, so like just abysmal, and you cannot forgive him for it. Then as the season progresses, the show's almost trying to make you sympathize with him, trying to relate to him, but the problem is, Personally, I was just kept thinking that this very first scene that we saw him in, it just could not get that out of my mind, and there's no forgiving him for what he did. I'm not going to say who it is, I'm not going to say what he done, but if you've seen the first episode, you'll know who I'm on about, and I have mentioned some of the themes which links into this. So yeah, I'm not too sure how I feel about that. It's a good character, well written and so on, but I'm not sure if I agree with them trying to sympathize that character. But the characters have depth. They all seem to have some sort of secret, some sort of past that they're not revealing that eventually gets seeded out in there. And the reveals are well timed, well paced, I would say. They never come at a inappropriate moment. The acting is really good. Carl Urban, Carl Urban is great as Billy Butcher. He is kind of the main character, kind of not as well. Huey, the main character, really. But Carl Urban is. He's very much like the Peter Dinklage, Tyrion Lannister of this show. He's the one you want to see most, really, because he's doing the most outlandish things. He's saying some of the most outlandish things. His accent's a little iffy. I think he's meant to be British, but Carl Urban, of course, isn't British. So his accent's kind of all over the place, but I kind of liked it as well. And they do keep coming up saying, I love your accent and stuff like that. They're acknowledging the fact that his accent's like that. So I think it might be a deliberate thing rather than Carl Urban just not able to do the accent. But Anthony Starr, who plays Homelander, one of the key superheroes influenced clearly by Superman, he's really good. As the season progresses, you realize there's a lot more depth to him than what you initially thought. And it's good how they do some reveals in this. So, for example, there's a scene early in the season where you see Homelander just staring at a picture of himself. You then realize, not too long later, that actually that's not what he's doing at all. And the reveal about that is really interesting, how they are planting things earlier on and then saying, no, actually this is what was happening. And it's quite smart that way on. And I like that. I also want to shout out Erin Moriarty, who plays Starfire. I thought she was brilliant. She's essentially the female lead of the show, and she's the newest superhero to join this group that they're calling the Seven, and she's very much going into this not realizing that there's a whole corporate side of things, there's a whole publicity and money and advertisements, reality TV side to these superheroes. She just wants to be a hero, she just wants to save people. So it's really fascinating to see her journey from being someone so eager to just be a good person and to save the day, to then find out actually there's more going on behind the scenes and it's not as simple as that. Now, that being said, while I liked all the characters, at first it can be a little overwhelming. There's a lot of characters in this show, so when you're watching the first 2 episodes, for example, it can take a little while to get used to who's who, what their names are, what their superpowers are exactly, and yeah, how they all know each other and what their relationship is. But as it progresses, it becomes a bit more accessible. So to talk a bit about the production, it's clearly a TV show. Obviously, it's not a feature film, but it looks like a feature film. The way that they've shot it, the cinematography, the use of color, it's got like almost like a Zack Snyder kind of grey, moody tone to it all, and it works really well. And I think that helps with the CGI and the action scenes as well, because obviously it's not a big budget movie, but it is a big budget TV show. The CGI and the action scenes are really quite good. They're not brilliant by any means, but it's like, yeah, that's good enough. I believe what I'm seeing. And like I said, it has an adult tone. The action scenes are very gory, they are very violent. There is blood and guts, there is broken bones in there as well. So they might not be for everyone. And I mentioned earlier how there was some content that maybe could have been trimmed or cut out a little bit. That does affect the pacing, particularly in the second half of the season, where, again, the content's not bad, it just feels a little unnecessary. And that's what I thought of The Boys Season 1. I do think it's a show you should check out. Even if you don't like superhero shows, if you don't like comic book adaptations, this one's different. It's clearly looking at all the things that came before, like the MCU, the DC movies, and saying, right, what if we twisted it? What if these aren't what you thought they are? What if they aren't what you expect them to be? And it does a good job of exploring that. I haven't actually read the Boys comic book, so I can't compare it to the graphic novels at all. But I really like this show, and I do think you should check it out. And I'm going to go into spoilers now, but before you leave, if you haven't seen this show, well, go watch the show and then come back and listen to the spoilers afterwards. But until then, subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe. The more subscribers I get means the more content I can make and the more content that you can enjoy. So, yeah, subscribe, please. And give me a thumbs up if you want. Leave a comment and feedback down below. Let me know what you thought of The Boys. And of course, go over to Twitter and Instagram. Follow me at @the_Grant Burton if you want. I also play video games on twitch.tv/the_Grant Burton, so you can go check that out as well if you want. But now it's time for full spoilers. So if you haven't seen The Boys, go watch it, come back. It's time for spoilers. So let's start by talking about the very last scene in the season. Butcher's wife is alive and well. We thought she had been raped, we thought she was dead, we thought she died in childbirth, giving birth to Homelander's child. That's not happening. So what's going on here? Has she in fact been raped? Was it consensual? Has she just abandoned Butcher, it seems, maybe? Either way, she's alive, she looks pretty well, she's doing well for herself. She also doesn't seem that upset or scared or bothered by Homelander being there, so maybe there is a bit more of a consensual relationship going on there. I don't know. I think it's a really good stinger, a good way to leave us waiting for more, and they are making more, so I can't wait to see how this wraps up. It also leaves us to beg the question of, if she's alive and well, if she wasn't raped, if she wasn't killed, then everything Billy's done has been for nothing. All he's wanted throughout this entire season was revenge. He killed a baby right at the end of the season and blew up a house and everything just because he wanted revenge. Turns out, maybe he should have got all the facts straight before he went through that. So yeah, all the chaos, all the carnage, all the killing, all the death, all the beatings, kind of his fault. And he's meant to be the good guy. Or is he? And just before that scene, we have Homelander killing his one weakness, who was the vice president of the company, Vought, I believe. And that was a really nice surprise. I didn't see that coming. And of course, it was brutal to see that he just lasered through her face, basically. Yeah, really cool moment. And speaking of the laser eyes, wow, that's scary. They do a really good job of just going through the house in Syria, the building in Syria, and he's just got these glowing eyes. They really do a good job of making Homelander. He has no weaknesses, so how do you stop this guy? He's essentially the Terminator with superpowers. So it's really cool how they've done that. And of course, essentially the Terminator with superpowers, he's meant to be the good guy, at least most people look at him as the good guy. But of course, we see more than that. So I mentioned earlier how there's a character who they try to make us sympathize with. They try to say, no, there's actually more to it there. And like, yeah, of course, there's obviously more to this character than that one scene. But this one event, this one moment, defines who this person is moving forward. And it's unforgivable. And I'm not sure how I feel about them trying to make us think, you know what, he done this, but let's forgive him. No, I'm not sure about that. But yeah, his storyline also doesn't feel all that necessary in places. It feels like they're just trying to give him something to do. Maybe they're building towards something else going on in the future, I don't know. But yeah, a lot of his stuff wasn't necessary, I thought. Huey, the main character, played by Jack Quaid, I believe he's called. I thought he was great, really well acted. I liked it where he went from being this nerdy, innocent guy who was just getting on with his life to being a guy who really wanted revenge and justice. And then where his arc takes him, the fact that he goes from one thing to the other, it felt really natural, really smooth, really well done. Just a touch about what with Karl Urban a little above earlier. Is the ultimate bad guy? Again, I haven't read the comic books, I don't know where this goes, but he has killed people, he has beaten people, he's done all of this in the name of revenge, and it turns out he didn't have all the facts, he didn't know everything. Does that make it excusable? I don't know. Will that change his ways at all when he finds out the truth, whatever the truth is? I don't know. Maybe he's been too twisted, too turned, but I really liked his performance, I really liked his character, and I'm eager to see where it goes from here, but I could totally see him ending up being the ultimate bad guy. So, that's my review of The Boys Season 1. I hope you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you have. Subscribe to my channel even if you didn't. I don't care. Just give me a subscription. You don't have to watch my content, just subscribe. Simple as a click of a button. And of course, you can give me a thumbs up if you like. Yada yada yada. Twitter and Instagram. Leave a comment down below. You know what to do at _Grant Burton. Thanks for watching.